Armchair Generals. This is Gamer 1745. Yep, that's me. That is I. And this looks like the stream is working. Yay. Don't know how much longer this series is going to last. We have this sort of Alpine Redoubt set for Germany here. And of course, Italian Africa to defeat. And then I have a different game in mind, but we will see. That's what we may play here. So, okay, let's start an episode. Just my luck, we'll start it and then it'll immediately surrender and end the game, but we'll see how this goes. Welcome, fellow Armchair Generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of, yes, you got it, Hearts of Iron 4 with the Law Resistance DLC, and of course we're playing as the Soviet Union. Yes, you're Mikhail? Hello, how you doing? Sorry, not getting your name perfect, but yes, you're the first, but I'm still sort of blurry-eyed waking up here too. So yes, we are coming to the conclusion of this series, I have no doubt of. So we're going to, well, let's look at diplomacy here. We're going to ask for military access. It will accept, because we want to be able to get at the Nazis and defeat them. And let's look, even though we're getting towards the end here, let's look at some technologies that we might, yeah, that would be nice. And we can modify our government. We don't need a ship designer. Do we want a theorist? Well, I don't know. I don't know that we need army experience gain. Or land doctrine research. Don't know that we hardly need to do any of that. Okay, well, now that I think we're going to get... Oh no, don't abandon this front just yet. Oh, you. Well, thank you. There are a lot of forces stacked up there, way too much. Okay, this armored thrust has petered out a bit. Well, we could make Bulgaria a little bit more socialistic. So let's send some of the armor down there.
Так точно. Внимание. Так точно. Брось. Слушаю. Слушаю. Я готов. Я готов. Брось. Готов. Внимание. Готов. Готов подвигаться.
See if you guys like marching through the hills much.
Брось.
Hello, IKB. Good to have you here today.
Выходим. До приказа. Выходим. Выходим. Готов выдвигаться. Выходим. Внимание. Выходим. Внимание. Выходим. Готов.
So we'll get a lot of these guys down, hopefully usefully down here.
Слушаю. Выходим. Внимание. Выходим. Выходим.
Now just today,
Готов.
I found a photo
Выходим.
of the Soviets supposedly near Berlin in 1945. Why can't I move it over here? I
Выходим.
guess he just doesn't want to move it that way. And whale sound noises.
Выходим.
Is it something from, I don't know, a little bit of the traffic outside or something? Are you hearing my voice generally speaking, or is there something else going on? Or is this the Russian?
Внимание. Выходим. Так точно. Выходим.
Might have been the traffic voice. Thank you. Good to know. I always want audio feedback because I turn the audio off so not to get audio feedback. So I don't know how it's sounding. Why aren't you doing that? It's just not a good clear path for movements.
Выходим. До приказа.
Hey, Toy Jet. Well, let's push here, I think. Okay, let's let this go. They've request for limited mail has been granted by Poland, and for some reason all of my conquered territory just went over to being Polish.
Внимание.
Don't know if that's because they accepted it or something else is going on. I don't know.
Так точно. Готов? Выходим! Выходим! Я готов! До приказа!
Yes, we are definitely moving into both Slovakia and what's left of Hungary
Так точно!
as quickly as I can.
Так точно!
I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well, Toy Jet. See if we can rush into there.
Я готов! Слушаю!
Okay, forces. Well,
Внимание!
looks like they have that opening, and we'll see if we can take out Bulgaria. We're
Готов
going
выдвигаться!
after its
Выходим!
capital. Let's see if we can pin
Брось!
those divisions there,
Внимание!
those 3 divisions there. Is it still warm up in your part of the world?
Мирно!
Not that it can ever really get terribly warm in Norway, but still.
Я готов! Слушаю! До приказа!
Hey, thanks for hosting, Arno.
Внимание! Внимание! Так точно! Я готов! Внимание! Так точно! Брось!
Uh-oh, the Japanese are here.
Я готов! Выходим! Я готов! Внимание! Мирно! Готов! Готов выдвигаться.
And thank you, AKB, for hosting. I do appreciate that. Is it not saying? Okay, now I'm going to have to look over there at what's going on with YouTube. So I know I changed it. Now I don't know that the changes worked right. Because it should be YouTube's interface here isn't always working as desired. Live thing. Well, it says Oh, says US. Says that it's. I don't know why it's saying that it's not HOI 4, because that's what it's saying for me. Well, I don't know. I don't know. Very warm in the UK. When do you want to record more? Where? Sometime soonish. I don't know what your schedule is going to be. I don't necessarily want to do it today, but
Я готов.
when is a good time for you?
Жду приказа.
Okay, because we do need more of them.
Так точно. Брось.
We do want to continue the series.
Так точно. Жду приказа. Выходим.
Well, since we got Sophia, let's drive down there. Yep, going to try that more. We do have some of that. I'm just seeing what I can do there. Okay, we've defeated Hungary and got some of supplies. Actually, badly needed supplies, quite honestly. Okay, guys, you're...
Брось.
Now you guys come this path, this hopefully least resistance.
Так точно. Смирно.
And oh, we need to ask for military access from Yugoslavia.
Смирно. Готов. Внимание. Выходим. Выходим.
Why has Germany not surrendered yet?
Жду приказа. Внимание. Выходим.
Poland is looking mighty big.
Готов. Готов. Выходим.
Because they're not French. Has decrypted our... Oh, okay, they're now decrypting our ciphers. That's a tragedy at this point.
Выходим. Так точно. Внимание. Выходим. Внимание. Я готов. Внимание. Так точно. Смирно. Готов. Так точно.
We just got Bulgaria.
Слушаю. Мирно. Слушаю. Готов. Я готов.
They need to be socialist too. Not well. Things are not well here.
Готов
Not
выдвигаться.
one little bit well. I quite honestly don't know how much I should talk about all of what's going on, how much people just want an escape
Внимание!
from the news,
Так,
or if they want to hear me go on about it. I don't know. I could spend hours talking about what's happening, but I don't know if it's a good idea or not.
Так точно. Выходим.
Oh, there. No, don't trust the news at all. How do I put this? They'll go to a things are still going on heavily, not as heavily as they were 5 weeks ago, but then riots are still going on. But they'll go to this mostly peaceful demonstration. And in a sense, when they're saying that, and there's a burning building behind them, and this mostly peaceful, there, let's say there's 4,000 people there. Well, yeah, only 400 of them may be committing violence or looting or burning or whatever. So, yeah, 90% of the people out there are being peaceful. But, so yeah, don't take it as being a situation like described by the media. They have their agendas, and
Я готов.
some of their agendas, quite honestly, are just simply to make money. Some of them are political in nature, but there's both going on.
Готов выдвигаться. Слушаю. Внимание!
See if we can take out Romania. I guess Italy is still fighting just because they have so much of Africa.
Брось! Внимание! До приказа. Слушаю. Готов?
That's a fortified position, so we'll
Внимание!
see about bypassing it.
Брось! Слушаю. Внимание! Внимание!
Just in case any of you don't have it and you're interested in it, I noticed yesterday, I presume the sale is still going, but it may be over. I think it's going to be over soon. I noticed Hearts of Iron 3 was just on the Paradox website, just $2.50, $2.50. And the sort of collection version of it, meaning all the DLCs, is like $7.50. So if you don't have it and are at all interested, you might want to get it.
Мирно! До приказа.
Okay, we just took out Legionary Romania, and we got some more useful equipment, not much. Yes, Summer Sale and Paradox. I know there's also stuff going on in Steam generally, but yeah.
Точно! Выходим! Я готов.
straight to there. These guys come down to here now. You push there, you guys push here.
Внимание! Брось! Внимание! Слушаю!
Come up to here. And you join this push.
Выходим! Выходим! Слушаю! Выходим! Выходим! По приказу! Выходим!
And all the Slovaks have been defeated.
Внимание! Выходим!
See one division there, still fighting on.
Я готов! Так точно! Внимание!
There we go. Guess they hadn't been fully defeated until just then. Well, let's push on to here, push on to Vienna.
До приказа. Готов?
I guess in theory moving up the Air Force would be good, but I don't know if it's hardly useful at this point.
Внимание! Так точно! Так точно!
Well, they sure got this Czech fort defense line going well.
Готов!
Let's push in around it here.
Так точно! Выходим!
Yeah, you're right. They're just divisions. Obviously, this is ridiculous. You know, sandbox, sandbox, sandbox. And I don't know about you guys, but this is one of the reasons why so many sort of core war gamers don't like, particularly HOI 4, but Hearts of Iron to some degree in there. But this is ridiculous. This is effing ridiculous. And this is why people like Strategic Command and War Plan. Not that it is a better war game necessarily, but it's because it's more realistic. Because in no fathomable, okay, yeah, United States having this is just okay. That's fine because they're occupying it. That is, you know, they get control of the territory, as opposed to setting up the Kingdom of Italy as a co-belligerent power and setting up the Italian Social Republic, you know, if there was any territory still to be held. But the idea that Italy, you know, Mussolini has flown out to Cairo and is continuing, and the king and Mussolini have flown out to Cairo and are continuing the fight from Italy, that's just stupid ridiculous, okay? That Vichy France is a thing is particularly after the conquest of, you know, North Africa. That would just simply collapse, even without Germany sort of shutting it down. There's just no way that Vichy France would be allowed to, or would even want to stay as a state, you know, as something that would be an independent political or even puppet state or whatever. So I don't know. What are you guys thinking about this? All right, so yeah, Poland is thick. Yeah. See, this is why we need to host MP games, because people don't. Those people don't do scrap. Yes. Hey, Spiraling. Okay. If they're both on sale on Steam, I'm sort of afraid of sort of hurting one team's feelings over the other. I like Warplan better for several reasons. One of them is sort of combination of reasons, but they sort of combine together is stacking. In Warplan, it is natural to combine fleets instead of having a destroyer chip, a battle cruiser chip, and a carrier chip or whatever. You just have the fleet. Now there's still a destroyer squadron and a battle cruiser and a battleship that you can all send off on different missions, or you can combine them in there. And then the stacking, you can stack one ground unit, one air unit, and a naval unit in the same, that would be in port, in the same hex. And Warplan does not use support units as a separate thing. What they do, instead of like having in Strategic Command, you have like an engineer chip or an artillery unit chip, where you can just add engineers to a particular corps. And you only add one sort of specialty addition to a corps. Which in Warplan, it's instead of specific engineers, it's a bridging unit. So if you want to move your panzers across the rivers, like in France or in Russia, faster, better, attack across them better, you just add that to a corps. You can only add one thing, one support unit to a corps, and cost a sort of outside extra points. Oh, I would recommend that very highly if you want a squad level, real-time, rather realistic tactical game. So at its thing, it's doing a really good job at it. I think the AI is pretty good. I know it's improved a bit. I haven't been playing it recently in its state, but it is pretty good. And so stacking is done better in Warplan than in Strategic Command. I don't know if the submarine war, meaning I haven't really had the Allies do. I mean, they have. If I've gotten them too near, like too near Iceland with air power or whatever up there, I've lost some, but I think maybe. I don't know whether and it's improved over the version that I have, both the AI and some of the games that I've been playing, just because I've been going through it. But it just seems for Germany, the Battle of the Atlantic seems too easy. But so that may be done a little better in Strategic Command. The other thing with Strategic Command versus Warplan, to move things via railways in Strategic Command, you need to use your MPP, which are the same things to build units. Where in Warplan, each nation has a value. Major nations, it's 100. I don't think it goes much over that, but it goes like every turn of 100 factors of units to be moved via rail in that turn. And say a corps is like 30 factors or something. So you can move 3 corps and a headquarters unit or something like that in one turn via railway. And so it's sort of a set value of rolling stock, and it doesn't and you can, it's just at every turn. So I like the rail movement better in Warplan. Now if you want this scale of a game right now, you need to go Strategic Command World at War. Basically the same theater between Strategic Command War in Europe and Warplan is the same, basically being Europe. So yeah, I would go with War Plan as the one I would pick. War in the East, I've enjoyed my playing of that. I've been playing mostly just the smaller scenarios
Жду приказа.
to get sort of familiar with it. I still want to play a grand campaign, as it were, but
Так точно.
not just to play it, but play it for the channel.
Выходим.
So I really haven't taken the time yet, obviously, to
Внимание.
play it. So hasn't happened yet.
Так точно. Так точно.
I like that game.
Выходим.
War in the West. Yeah. I don't have that one, but it looks good too. Same basic engine rules, whatnot, I believe, as War in the East.
Выходим. Готов. Так точно. Готов подвигаться. Готов.
Now, they're both good games, Strategic Command and War Plan. I don't want anybody to think I'm not saying they're good. I'm really enjoying. I mean, I have less problems with it, but still some minor ones. But I'm really enjoying Strategic Command World War I right now.
Готов.
I was playing it some yesterday.
Я готов.
Come on, take out Romania.
Так точно. Готов.
U.S. got to the capital first. Bummer.
Внимание. Смирно. Жду приказа. Жду приказа. Выходим. Готов. Выходим.
One for Vienna.
Так точно. Готов выдвигаться. Так точно.
Yes, avoid the forts.
Готов выдвигаться.
Attack other places. Von Manstein just lost Vienna. Well, they now move the capital. Okay, well, we got Signals Company. Okay, well, we got some much needed artillery. What do we want to take? East Prussia. That actually did go to the Soviet Union. It still is Russian territory today. Do we want to take Moldavia? Can we take it? Keep it? Yeah, I guess we'll try this. Enter. You're the demands during this turn. Remove demands if you want. You know, okay, end turn. Can't take these demands. It would lower. Okay. No. Not giving me war score to. Okay. I mean, all I get to get out of it is the memo. Well, it's really a bit more down here that's still. Okay, can we now take. And here we go. Soviet Union must expand. Hmm. Bridge too far. Okay. Pomerania, no. You're not gonna let us do that. No, too much. Oh, this is getting as bad as some EU games. Hey Tippet, yeah, it's just happened. Do we want Albania? No, we can't get that. You're not gonna let us have any more fun territories? Oh, we can get that. Okay. No, not that we can't use some good border gore. We could get just that. Okay. I'm just doing this to piss off anybody who's OCD enough that this triggers them. We never did declare war against Finland. Well, we can get some bits of Libya. Soviet Union was always trying to get more and more influence in Libya. Oh, no, not the last little bit, eh? Okay. No. Do we get Sicily? No. Calabria. No, let me have Calabria. Won't let me have Sardinia. What about Vichy France? We could use some socialist territory down here. No. Won't let me socialize France. France is natural for socialization. Oh, they want socialization. I know I'm just trying random things at this point, but maybe we pass. I don't know. Somalia. Oh, we can get some. Oh, they'll even give us Ethiopia. They're betraying Haile Selassie. What? Oh no, we got that even though it's still saying Italy, right? Okay. No, not letting me have that. No, we did not make it into Berlin. The Allies did from up here. They landed here and drove in and took Berlin. So our Yalta conference isn't yielding us huge amounts of Germany. Oh, come on. We want some nice Mediterranean. Well, I guess we got parts of Libya or some Mediterranean property. Yeah, that now. Nope. Okay. Oh, man. Okay, well. Where are we still here? Still clicked on. Okay, I guess we'll pass. Oh, good. Now we can get some. Yeah, we need our bits of Austria too. Okay. We need some territory for when World War III starts to be able to launch our reign of socialism. So we pass again if they'll let me have that. Yeah, we're good. Now we can get some of our Italy now. Yes. The border core, sure. Yeah, that's about what we're doing here. Pass, pass. Oh, good. Get some more of Austria. That's nice. See if they'll let me. No. Maybe Sicily? No. Oh, good. Campania is now ours. Oh, somebody else grabbed that up. Okay. There we go. There we go. That's looking very spiffy. Oh, good. Oh, well, let us have Berlin. Oh, well. More of the Baltic coast. We got to see how many people we can get to live in darkness in socialism, misery, and oppression because they deserve it. Oh, good. So we will be able to launch our next campaign straight out into the North Sea from our base that we'll build there. Oh. Oh, good. Eat the rest of Hungary? I don't know. I think we like leaving that there. It's just, you know, so border gorish. So triggerable. There we go. There we go. Hanover, Hanover. Ah. Yes, yes. Yes, yes. This is just like how it would have been. Let's pass. Let's see if we can get west. No. There we go. Yeah, let's see if we can get to the Rhine here. No, not yet. There we go. There we go. We'll be able to have our division set up to go straight into There we are. Well, that'd be great. There we go. I think we're done. This is gory enough, isn't it? In the United Kingdom, okay. Greedy, let's see. Okay. Well, there we go. There's West Germany. There's still the German Reich somehow. How is there still the German Reich? I don't know. I know maybe we could have taken this territory, but still. I wanted a Budapest and a Romania and I guess a Bulgaria to exist. There's still a France and a France. And what is this? Province of Savoy. American Southern France. So this is U.S. Southern France? Huh. What is this? Okay, Austria does exist. What's over here? The Republic of Slovenia. Oh, good. This is the United States. Ah. Hello, Night Sergeant Huntman. Unpause. Yeah, there should be some events. And hello, Danny K. Hey, Harry. And let's see if there are any events here. Okay, Switzerland joined the Allies. Hey, Lum's now in the Allies. Okay. Oh, the Olympics are happening now. Okay, they're canceling non-aggression pacts with us. South Olympia is held in Tokyo, Japan. Oh, well, Japan got the Olympics finally. They're all canceling their non-aggression pacts. Oh, let's save this. Save game. Yeah, they're canceling their non-aggression pacts with us. Are they all planning to jump me and go to war? Is that it? Well, well, we could do that one. We're still mighty behind on some. 18,000 on rifles. Still not producing nearly enough. So yeah, that's wackier than Kaiserreich. Because Hitler's hanging out in Dresden with Goering and crew. We've got some territories. Eritrea is independent, but the Kingdom of Libya exists way out here in the desert. Oh, and here, okay. Republic of Tunisia. What's this? What's this? Corsica. The Corsican Republic. Oh my. Oh my, oh my. Yep, they're doing that. How can... Seriously, how can people think this is a good thing? Unless they're just too deep down the EU hole and they want their games to... Do they just want EU 20th century? Is that what they really want to do? Paint the map whatever color? Is that what you all want to do? You live, you later on and on YouTube? Post down below if this is what you like to see. Because it's not the game I want. I'm not saying it isn't fun to play. But... yeah, Ari, you know, and that's cool. But why the hell isn't the more rational thing the standard and this the mod or some DLC? That's my complaint. It's not, is there a player made mod that would correct something? It's how do you get to the point? Oh, it's sandbox. We don't want to restrict you too much. And I'm gathering, yeah, if I hadn't passed on the end, I could have taken these two, well, 3 territories or whatever. And end up with, you know, a West Germany and a Soviet Union. And yeah, I could have maybe done something that released, you know, the DDR, East Germany, or whatever you want to call it. But really... Oh, thank you for thinking it looks disgusting. Because it looks disgusting, you know. So many levels. You know, now if we were trying to do the Treaty of Westphalia in whatever, 16 whatever. I don't know the year of that, but then yeah, this kind of thing works because this is what happened. You know, this type of thing. But even the Soviet Union couldn't have gotten away with this. The idea that this is, you know, Berlin or, you know, north half of Germany or north third of Germany or whatever the hell is actually Soviet territory. And maybe they could have gotten away with it if the Soviets met the Western Allies along the, you know, the River Rhine or something like that. Yeah, maybe, just maybe. But there's at some point they would see Soviet aggression as just something that needed to be fought. Saying Westphalia reminded me of that. Oh, is that? Yeah, I think I know which one. That sort of did come to my mind, and why. What to do with Luxembourg, I think, is that, so it just, just trying to think, yeah, I would say 90%, literally 90% of the reason the U.S. dropped the atomic bombs, and they dropped them on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And they picked those two cities particularly because they had been unbombed before. They wanted to show what one bomb would do. And so they picked those cities because they were major cities, and they were, not just some, they didn't want to demonstrate it out in the middle of nowhere. They needed to demonstrate what it would do to the cities. And they wanted to do it to an untouched city. Also, they didn't, I haven't specifically heard why they didn't do Osaka. I don't think Osaka was majorly bombed. Osaka is the traditional capital of Japan, not Tokyo. Tokyo only, or Edo, as it was called, and I don't know if there's an official Edo is a smaller area here or whatever, but Edo sort of becomes the capital under the shoguns, and while still the imperial capital, where the emperor lived, was Osaka, or that sort of region there. And Tokyo or Edo, but Tokyo region becomes a major city under the Tokugawa shogunate, the last shoguns, multi-generation. Shoguns had been a sort of a warlord type term, but it's sort of national warlord or something like that. But multi-generational, they stabilized Japan, and constant sort of civil war, from low grade to out and out full on civil wars over who was going to be shogun for, I don't know, 100 plus years. But from what, around I don't know, 1600 or so, or 1650 or something like that. I don't know, through to 1860s, and when Commodore Perry shows up with the American fleet, which brings down the shogunate, sets that up, and only after sort of that time does the this is the administrative capital of Japan. This is sort of the cultural capital with the emperor. Does the emperor sort of move and build a palace or occupy a palace that's already there, or whatever? I don't know exactly. When they had bombed Tokyo, but they had specifically avoided bombing the imperial palace because they wanted to negotiate with the emperor. They did not want to kill the emperor. So 90% of the reason they dropped atomic bombs is to save primarily American lives. Trust me, the Americans weren't terribly interested in saving Japanese lives, though they were not. They tried so much on places like Okinawa, down here, to not harm the Japanese civilians. And the Japanese civilians committed mass suicide, stayed in bunkers that had soldiers in them that the soldiers were actively fighting out of, so they had to kill them. Boy, they tried not to kill the women and children, the old people, the whatever. They weren't trying to kill the civilians, but they weren't really worried about or trying hard to go out of their way not to either, meaning they weren't going to allow, there's civilians in that bunker, we're not going to put a flamethrower in it. No, there's still people shooting out of that bunker. They won't surrender. We're going to put flamethrowers in there, kind of thing. So they weren't going to die to save Japanese civilians. So mostly to save American lives. That's why they dropped the atomic bombs. The 10% reason was to show the Soviet Union was, hey, you better not push too hard on any of this stuff because we've got these nukes. Britain may be exhausted. France may be rebuilding and not able to go fight World War III or whatever. The U.S. is just fine. No, the people don't want to go to another major war. Absolutely. But if need be, we will. And the Soviets ended up, and we didn't know this, of course, knew more about our program than we thought they did. And the Soviets knew enough that it was real and that we were going to get more bombs and whatnot. And so the Soviets also bluffed back successfully against the Americans. But to make it, like, hey, we can start dropping bombs, whether on Moscow or any other major or city, and you're not going to like going to war with us. We may not want to. There may be serious problems, but you're not going to like it. And so that was sort of, to keep this sort of from happening. Yes, after a while, it they dropped the occupation zones. But, first you have, and I'll try to get at least the spirit of things. Somebody's talking about my apocryphal history talks. Well, I label this historical commentary because, no, I'm not necessarily presenting detailed history correctly, but I am trying to get the tenor, the tone of what was going on. FDR thought he could finesse Stalin. FDR had a super high opinion of himself in that sort of viewpoint. Higher than reality, for sure. No, he was good at finessing things, no doubt. But internationally, you really get into the situation where Hitler really has his pulse on German politics. He does miserably on international diplomacy and international politics. Just doesn't understand them at all. Just doesn't. His worldview is very, very limited, very, very Germanic focused, and he gets that well. He understands that well. He doesn't understand this. Others well. FDR has a political history of finessing things in American politics, even before he's president. And he does that well. He is not as dictatorial as Wilson. Wilson is very dictatorial. Puts a lot more people in jail, abuses the Constitution a lot more. And oh boy, Wilson's a good guy because he's a progressive. Oh, he was very progressive, very racist, very progressive. FDR isn't very much racist. He is progressive. I don't know if he's as progressive as Wilson, but he finesses things more than the brute force of Wilson. But FDR, at least in my opinion, thanks 2017ist and thanks Danny, FDR doesn't do well in international politics or diplomacy, however you want to look at that, because those are two slightly different things. Diplomacy is dealing sort of, with other diplomatic governments' ways. Politics is sort of reading the political will of the peoples of other countries. What will they stand for? What can their leaders get their people to do, kind of thing, go along with. But either the politics or the diplomacy of international things, he doesn't do well when dealing with some nation with conflicting ideas, because he thinks he can finesse them, and he doesn't. And I'm particularly thinking of Japan. I do not believe FDR's policies were specifically driven to get the U.S. into the war with Japan. I do not believe that. That is the outcome of the policies, But I really think he thinks he can finesse Japan and get them to back off on China to some degree. And that's why he allows the American Volunteer Group to go in. He's doing all kinds of embargoes against Japan because he's trying to modify Japanese behavior through non-direct war. And he thinks he can do this. I can't see a single one iota of change in Japanese policies in the direction he wants them to go. I see everything that he does actually pushes Japan in the other direction. Now you can say, oh, that's just because he wants to have a war with Japan. No, I don't read FDR as that Machiavellian. I mean, he understands Machiavelli, I'm sure, but I just don't see him as that sort of twisted Machiavellian kind of thing. I think he's actually trying to get Japan to back off China, whatever that means. I don't know what it means. Obviously, at that point, it doesn't mean evacuating Manchuria, obviously. Does it mean back off of some of the territories they've conquered and then put pressure on Chiang Kai-shek to sign a temporary peace? You know, we'll use peace, it's going to be temporary. And you can build up your army, Chiang Kai-shek, build up your industry, get ready for round 2 or round 5 or round whatever. I think that's what he was thinking he was going to do. That does not happen. Where FDR can finesse things is when either he's dealing with somebody who more or less wants the same thing that he wants, Churchill, or the British just generally. They want his support in the war. He wants to support them. He might need to finesse things like Lend-Lease or cash and carry or other sort of programs, you know, giving up bases, or you just throw us a bone, just give us bases for weapons or something like that. You know, just give me something. And so they will, you know, the British Empire is sort of swallowing its pride and giving the U.S. bases. And so, you know, he can get that, he can finesse that, or dealing with people's, and I'm sort of thinking of de Gaulle, which is, he doesn't deal directly with, but, and he picks, the Americans pick other generals to sort of counteract him. Basically powerless, dependent nations. And that's just because it's U.S. power, and they have to give. So, Marxists and traders, yes. So, yeah, I don't think he would have gotten he would have finessed Stalin as well as he thinks he would. Now, Truman is a much blunter person, clearly a much blunter person. And he wants to avoid a war, but he's also, you know, pushing for realistic solutions. So, and of course, he's the one that actually orders the bomb dropping on Japan, the atomic bombs. And he, after a point, takes over from the British in supplying the Greeks in their civil war that is heavily supplied by the Soviets on the other side, and drawing that line, saying that, you know, yeah, we are doing dividing areas, entirely backs MacArthur, who he later, of course, has conflicts with, but entirely backs MacArthur in keeping the Soviets entirely out of Japan, because the Soviets they want their occupation zones too in Japan. Well, all they basically get is this, you know, this part of the island up here that Japan still claims. I think they still officially claim it, that that they had taken over, and of course, Soviet actual territories that they occupy. Though after a while, the Soviets abandon Manchuria, and but leave all the Japanese equipment, which is huge amounts of equipment. This army up here, although is quickly overrun, is still there's lots and lots of equipment, and specifically turns it over to the communists. Without the massive Soviet aid of Japanese equipment to the communists I don't think could have won in China, at least not nearly as fast as they did. And the Soviets particularly wanted to keep their direct fingerprints off of the aid to the communists. The Soviets do get an occupation zone, of course, in North Korea, but MacArthur and that's more the idea that for the South Korea is that the U.S. insists upon an occupation zone of their own, as opposed to letting this, because the Soviets are basically come in and occupied all this before the U.S. can get there. They get the Soviets to withdraw. And, of course, keep the Soviets out of Japan, MacArthur does. So Truman backs that solidly. And backs the idea of the Soviets needing to leave Iran, because remember, they take over about a third of Iran and Britain takes over the other 2/3. That they must leave. Soviets must leave there. They really keep, although there is for a while a Soviet occupation zone in Austria, they get them to push that out eventually. And so it's because of the bomb, it's because Truman's standing up to him and basically saying to them, because, especially if you look in sort of the 1950s, and I'm sure I'm wrong on some details, but the 1950s, Czechoslovakia isn't quite yet Soviet dominated. They have a lot of influence in the government. Definitely the Soviets have dominated the Polish government. But there's, and Yugoslavia is looking a bit more, independent. And so there's at least a fair amount of fiction going on that these other nations in here are sort of choosing their own destinies, and they're just choosing to go down the Soviet rabbit hole. But had the Soviets really pushed in, whatever, Truman's going to say no. At least that's my reading. Hey, Marcel, or Fritz, or whatever. You won the majority of Europe and won the war. What's next? Well, I think this is over. I don't see this as being a, we'll save this, but as being a continuation here. Now, I have a thought of a different game for a while. I don't know if any of you are terribly interested in it. It's going to be a different change in subject entirely. But yeah, to me, this is just wacky. Well, Churchill was obsessed with the Balkans. Churchill is constantly obsessed with what he calls the soft underbelly of Europe. And Europe's underbelly is not soft for two reasons. And they're related to each other. One, the terrain. It's mountainous. It's rugged. Two, the lack of infrastructure to move rapidly over it. And the reason they have poor infrastructure to this day is, well, partially, of course, to this day is Soviet occupation, but is the expense of trying to put modern infrastructure through the, the rugged terrain. So they're related to each other. And Churchill, I don't know if it was Churchill, but one of these islands down here, the British come in and occupy while the Germans still own Crete and still the Italians are still owning Rhodes. No, the U.S. gets Rhodes this time. How interesting. They come in, they successfully take over the island, defeat the Germans, but the British just can't sustain it from Luftwaffe attacks, both on the island and this is just like some destroyers dropping off 2,000 or 3,000 troops or something. This isn't a major invasion. I think it's launched from Cyprus into one of these islands in here. I forget which one. And the invasion part goes well. They defeat there, but it's just not sustainable from the available air attacks. So Churchill is pushing, or whoever the British are pushing, into the region, but it's just not something that they're able to do without massive U.S. support, and the U.S. is just not interested. Again, FDR is not looking so much at the peace; he's looking at defeating there. And somehow we have Cambodian troops here in Europe. Yugoslavia did not the Warsaw Pact wanted to do with the British Rail. Okay, I don't entirely understand that sentence. IKB, have you seen Romanian gals? I don't know if you're referring to women or whatnot, but don't know. Fellow gamer, looks like I'm coming a bit late for this, by the way. Is this the new BI? No, I have not played the new BI mod. I am thinking of doing that next week. I'm going to try to keep an open mind about it. I do need to investigate to whether if they've changed because otherwise it'd just get me to rage quit again, and I don't play games just to rage quit on them. I don't. The penalties for invading the Soviet Union by Germany are just effing too harsh in my last playthrough with them. So I either they need to moderate them, or I need to figure out how to turn that off. And so that's the thing, and I can fix the trade range problem to deal with the Romanian oil for Germany, but I would like to try that, and that's, I think, next Saturday is the goal for that. So yeah, soft underbelly. It's going to be Gallipoli all over again, and see, Churchill truly understands, because he is, when the Gallipoli thing happens, and then later on, before he becomes prime minister, he is, head of the Admiralty. He is the civilian head of the Admiralty. They don't have, at that time, I don't know what Britain's like today, but they don't have the Joint Chiefs of Staff that the U.S. has today is formed only after the U.S. goes to goes to war in World War II, and the Joint Chiefs of Staff is actually set up joint chiefing as much or more between like the head of the Navy, the Secretary of the Navy, and the head of the Admiralty, the British, and the U.S. Army and the British Army and all that stuff. But it also gets the U.S. to coordinate better, and that structure stays. The U.S. part of it stays after the war to this day. But Britain, the Admiralty, is distinctly different than the, what's the army, the head of the army called or whatever. But and there's a civilian head there's like sort of an independent civilian head of the Admiralty or whatever, and that's Churchill doing. He understands amphibious warfare, and in the sense that, especially once you get, you can land along the coast. Britain can land along the coast effectively anywhere, and do so quite well. Like I was just talking about the small island invasion, that was sort of a locally organized. Again, I don't know how much Churchill had involvement in either the planning or the giving permission to do so. It may have been entirely theater organized, and it was a relatively small affair. But Britain had the ability, its own amphibious warfare ability, to land, a division or so wherever it really wanted to, and would probably successfully get ashore and successfully secure a perimeter. But then, you get down here, you get down in Sparta area. That doesn't get you across the Corinth Canal, doesn't get you into Athens. Or you land and you take Athens. Okay, well now you're facing the hills around Athens. You're sort of stuck there. So you can do any of that, but you're not going to be blitzing up through the Balkans. It's just not going to be happening. So yeah, okay, guys. Your screen's going to go black for a moment. The live stream is still going on. Just starting a new game here. Yes. Imperator. I've been playing a bunch of this game in the last week or so, and it is really improved over what it was when we first encountered it. We, as I presume anybody else who's played it. So I'm going to go grab a Coke, my first one of the day. Black screens matter. A good one. Good one. You can look at this pretty picture while I get a Coke, and I'll be back. And we'll talk a little bit about this and play some. We should stop the recording of the last episode. Okay, we need to make a new one. Okay, I'm going to record all this as an episode to be put up later. And yes, those coming, we were playing something other than HOI 4. No, I don't feel like changing it on other services, so we're going to continue here. Welcome, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 with a fresh look at Imperator Rome. We are going to be playing as what they call Egypt, what I like to think of as Ptolemy. All the kings were named Ptolemy. Different. I don't know. Some of them I think are before, but different descriptors like brother loving or whatever added to it. So we're going to be doing this, but this is going to sort of be starting off with a talk about what's going on here before we get into the play. So you might want to jump forward a bit if you just want to see some of the gameplay. What are we saying up on chat? We would love to see Macedonian. Okay, Celtic talk culture, just don't let Alexandria burn. I think you're talking about the library. Yes, we won't do this. Are you in play? Yeah, I enabled the debug mode a long ago and I haven't unenabled it, so you see that. So I can move over here to get rid of that extra stuff. Okay, my current thoughts on Imperator Rome. Well, as I originally encountered the game, I thought the game had a lot. Oh yes, it was to be able to cheat. Well, and you can see if I cheat in the game, like adding more gold or whatever. I don't even know the code right now. Or adding stability or whatever you can do. the game has a lot of potential. I think Paradox realizes they released the game in a subpar standard, and it's not very good. So, but it is much improved. One of the things I will be taking a look at, and I don't know how much of this series we're going to do, depends to some degree on long term, is long term on how much viewer participation there is or in watching. We will be looking at some of the missions that they've added to them, and I've really liked them and thought they were interesting. So we're going to be doing this. Now this is slightly after the regular sort of start, and the reason I picked this is just after the Phrygia here has gone to war with we can see with Macedonia, and so there's they're at war with a lot of people, and we gave them the ultimatum to give up all this territory and Cyprus, or we'll go to war, and they gave in. So I made a save just at that point. So this is still very early in the game. Can you get rid of the debug? If someone could quickly tell me how to get rid of the debug, I'll do so. Otherwise, the answer is no, because I don't want to take the time to dig into it while everyone's watching, waiting, and figuring that out. So if somebody knows, great, or wants to look that up, great. If it's a few things I can type in, I'll happily get rid of it, because yes, I know it can be annoying, and I wasn't thinking about this before. Now, to give you a little bit of the story of what's going on. I know I've talked about this before if you watch it. I am fascinated by Ptolemaic Egypt. Doesn't mean I dislike either, but doesn't mean I particularly like Ptolemaic Egypt. Hit open the console and type debug. Okay. Yeah, until the okay. DEBU underscore ODE. Okay, there we go. Got rid of it. Thank you. Thank you very much, Harry. Ptolemaic Egypt. It, and to, I'm going to say a lesser degree, but maybe about the same degree, the Seleucid Empire, both to me represent what Alexander the Great wanted. And again, I'll put out this plea. Back probably in the 1970s, there was either one episode or a series, I don't remember, put out about Alexander the Great. I really want to see that again. I've looked for it. I don't know if any of you remember it or can find it. It's a series, and there's a bunch of people standing around in an outdoor pavilion kind of thing, talking to each other. And they're reminiscing about events in Alexander the Great's life. And then they do cutscene, then they start talking, and then they jump back, and you see it as a, historical drama. And then they go back to the people. After a while, you realize all these people in the tent, or not really sort of an outdoor, but sort of lightly covered thing or whatever, are actually dead, because these are all people that have died before Alexander the Great has died. Could be like his mother, Darius, the Persian emperor, the king of kings, whoever it is. And it's not like they're not like gruesome or zombies or anything. They're just standing around. But these are all people affected and have died, maybe in Alexander's service beforehand, talking about Alexander. So it's a really interesting. Yes, we're playing as Egypt or Alexander. Yes, we have the canal. I think it's a bit overdone in this game, but it definitely existed. Meaning large ships can get through that I'm sure couldn't have. The larger ships can get through. It's more of a transportation Canal. So I'd really love to see that again. That series, as a fairly young child, got me interested in Alexander the Great. Now, this gentleman here, don't know how much he looked like that, but Ptolemy the First Soter. Soter is means survivor. It's just what is called a patronymic, a sort of a familiar name added to it. I don't know how. Some I think officially this. The last name of Langrid, in my opinion, is inappropriate. I may be wrong, but I do not know of a single case of the Ptolemies using as a last or family name Langrid. Langrid is, if you will, either the proper name, because I don't know how much they had last names, or the family name. Again, I'm not quite sure, of the man who married his mother, I think after he was born. I do not believe Langrid was his father. Now, this is belief, not knowledge. So he is one of, he as a boy grew up at about the same age as Alexander the Great, give or take a year or two. And so I'm not even sure if they know, when even Alexander was born, let alone what year he was born. But he grows up alongside Alexander and becomes one of Alexander's stalwart generals. And he ends up ruling here in Egypt. Now, Sandbox. I can hear Sandbox. I don't know who Largos is. I don't remember him being when the game first comes out. But I don't know whether they've magicked Largos in, or was he around and died by this time. I do know Koranos, he is the, I think the elder son. Again, I don't know. And I could be getting some of this wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's him. He goes up and becomes king of Macedonia for a while. And this is one thing that this game doesn't do well, is deal with historical events like that. And he should be able to send him up, because there's some dynastic things, with sort of a mercenary army to go take over there. This Ptolemaeus Philadelphus is his actual successor. All these others die out basically first. One thing I do not like about this game is you cannot rename your characters. Unless there is a way to do so and somebody can tell me, that would be great. But I've looked. I haven't looked recently, but because they give these people ridiculous names. And no, I don't need it to unfold just the way history did, because we want to change history, but I still want to be able to name, instead of having ridiculous names for some of these characters, I would like to name them. One other complaint that I have with Paradox Games is, oh look, there's a city. There's no city buildings. There's a city. There's no city buildings. Oh, there is a fort here. They're always starting out, I mean, there's a little bit of stuff here, but they're always starting out with nothing, and I don't like that. Now, when you're going to somewhere, I do get growth and improvement and whatever else, but they always start out with sort of minimum and get bigger, as opposed to, starting out. It works for, I haven't played the game, but something like Surviving Mars or something like that, because you're the first ones on Mars. Okay, so we've got all this new territory up here. We have a disloyal character. Okay, we have him. He's disloyal. Now, he is disloyal because of ambition and jealousy, I believe. But ambition is what's really pushing his disloyalty. he has reasonably good stats. Largos doesn't have as good as stats. He's sort of a zero figure. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to create an army. Up here, I think. This seems like a convenient spot. Let's build an army. I think we have the money to do so. Because we do not want disloyalty and conflict causing us problems. Let's see, 3, I think that's 6. Building as cheap an army as we can. Okay, I think that's 10. I've really been trying to learn this game. I'm sure there's a lot, well, I'm sure there's a lot I could still learn about it. So any hints from either the current audience or the audience later on YouTube, yeah, no, I don't really care about supply trains for this. You're absolutely right in a proper army, but this isn't a proper army. Okay. Are there 10 units? I hope so. Let's send you all to here. Yes, we don't have generals for all of these units. Did I miscount? Nope, got it right. Okay, join these together. Now you can see that this is going to cost us 2.5 approximately, whatever, ducats, gold, whatever, per month. But what we're going to do is we're going to put Largos in charge of it. He's going to be in charge of it. He's rather loyal. Now that he's a general, we're going to send him adventuring. He will lose a lot of his military. I don't know why. I don't understand that, why he loses his military ability by sending him on this, but we're going to send him adventuring. He gets to go out and play mercenary commander. My experience so far has been that they just sit there and no one hires them. But yeah, we've just moved him out. We no longer have a disloyal character because he's no longer jealous because he is now in line for the throne. I do not like that you cannot assassinate people in your own government or in your own characters, and even in your own family. I know Johann says, but you can imprison them and then execute them, blah blah blah. Well, you know how often the Ptolemies were assassinating each other, which was their biggest weakness, quite honestly. I guess no, the Ptolemies at the bottom row here. So their biggest weakness is they never stuck together and they always assassinated each other over the throne. This also has the other family, I think, in it. No, it's up here. I don't know. It's already a bit overextended, I believe. Heavy infantry is the best infantry. Yeah, boy, I wish we could have Fields of Glory 2 added to this game. That would be so much better than the current military. Because they don't. There was, and here's the other thing. And I know I'm talking to a lot of people who play Paradox games, and I don't know if you feel this way, but it's this. The hell is this? Oh, enables the phalanx tactic. If we go from this to this to this to this to get phalanx tactic. Oh, wow. Wow, we could get the phalanx tactic. Let's see. When was the phalanx tactic created? Oh, under Philip II of Macedonia. Who was Philip II of Macedonia? Can anybody remember who was Philip II of Macedonia? He was Alexander the Great's father. Yes. And they got the phalanx, which sort of refers to their smaller shield. And then the hoplite or hoplites, however you want to pronounce it. Yeah, you're right. Ikibit, his dad. And so it's perfected under Alexander the Great's father. Alexander the Great inherits it. Oh, and what general and what army conquers Egypt? Alexander the Great. What army moves in here and is conquering and occupying it now under Ptolemy? A phalanx army. They don't have their own real traditions and share it with everyone else. Well, there is some of that. And another thing, how are we doing for trade? Are we... Yes, we fully have the trade worked out, I think. So the idea that we're starting with tabula rasa, the blank slate, on these kinds of things. This is sort of and they've done different traditions now. It's not all the same. The religions are now different. They're not all the same, and we'll be looking at some of that. And so now we can look at a cultural map here. This is a this represents Macedonian colonies that they were planting deeper inside of Russia, or not Russia, boy, last game, in Egypt, and here, and up in Alexandria. So I could see the idea that manpower, and you got to understand, okay, phalanx soldiers. It wasn't just anybody who picks up a long piece of wood with a metal point at the end. They're well drilled, and there's basically most of them are coming out of Greece, and particularly Macedonia. The Greek Macedonians are already complaining during Alexander the Great's time that he is training up others. We'll call them Persian. But they may be, Bactrians or whoever in his thing, and creating more phalanx units. They sort of want the exclusivity, as well as these other guys aren't as good as us, kind of thing, and they weren't. Sort of imitation phalanx versus real Greek phalanx, or real Macedonian phalanx, or whatever. They're not so much complaining about other Greeks that are converting from hoplites to phalanx. Now, there are still hoplites fighting are in existence, coming out of some Greek islands, some Greek city-states, in the early Roman imperial times. Because obviously Rome already exists here. We can go back to, as something of a political state, but I mean as unified Italy. There are still traditions, and there's still military value in the hoplites. And I know I'm jumping back and forth between them, the terms, and I'm doing so intentionally, but so there's still military value with the shorter spear, larger shield, generally heavier armor of the hoplite, and I think a lot of that is better missile protection. But generally speaking, you run a bunch of hoplites versus a bunch of phalanx. The phalanx is just going to wipe them out. Generally speaking. Okay. Why does the People's Front Judea have, say, traditions as Egypt? The same tradition. Yeah, sort of a mix. I see your point that maybe it can be like these techniques and tactics being forgotten over time. Okay, somehow rediscover. Yeah, I get Nils. I get your point, but okay, and we're getting to the Macedonians are the main, but there's other Greeks. Now, during the time of Soter here, you have sort of a some are, well, you can see Soter's getting a bit old, but some veterans that are still literally the silver shields from Alexander the Great, which was sort of the elite phalanx. You have other silver shields that are units trained up by, shall we say, the old guys now. that are running around in several different people's service, plus regular sort of phalanx guys. And they're sort of like a commodity. Basically, Ptolemy is unable to recruit more or new phalanx in Egypt, but he is actively recruiting them out of Macedonia into Egypt, as well as oh, hey, some general lost over here, lost confidence. Oh, 30 phalanx want to show up. Okay, they show up and join. So they're, from somewhere else in the, greater, Alexander the Great's empire world, because there are phalanx out here in Bactria. There's phalanx all over the Seleucid Empire, phalanx all over Asia Minor, all over Greece, up into Thrace here. So they're these sort of elite soldiers, if you will, moving around, and Ptolemy is trying to not necessarily get everyone that he can, because there is a budget issue, but part of it is what he's doing is offering them land to settle. This is why you get some Macedonian. And I do notice the buildings here are sort of in the Greek style, the buildings here are in the Egyptian style, representing the different cultures of these different terrains, different peoples here. That he's getting them to, he doesn't want them to be just mercenaries. He wants them to settle, to be sort of a, especially in their older years, to be something of a militia, meaning they're sort of retired from active campaigning, but they still have their equipment to raise as a, we're like 55 at this time. Yeah, you're saying age-wise? Yes. That would be about that for the original Silver Shields. But I do know they were recruiting up, and there were, I think, Silver Shields in employ, I think, in Ptolemy, but I'm pretty sure in, whatever we want to call, I want the diplomacy in Antigonid. That's what, because this I would call the Antigonid Empire and the Seleucid Empire. Why do the Seleucids get their family name? The Antigonids don't, and the Ptolemies don't. Macedonian is probably the one that I would keep. Is the one I see referred to more by its country name than by the family name. And so these doctrines, now, after a while, Ptolemy, and we should let this run, Ptolemy does start recruiting local Egyptians, not into the phalanx, but to be local Egyptian tradition warriors. Soldiers, whatever you want to call that term. And so he's doing that as well. And so you very rightly could have a specific tree just for Ptolemaic Egypt. And that would be a legit thing. But some of these you should be able to recruit and have specific phalanx and have their traditions. That doesn't mean you shouldn't have progress. Doesn't mean you shouldn't have improvement. But yeah, I don't like their sort of blank slate. Here we all starting at 0 point. Okay, to our west, an unruly Greek city of Cyrenaica has once again refused to submit to us. Too proud to bow to Alexander, the tragic betrayal and murder of our previous governor of the region, Ophelas, while invading Carthage, regretfully created a power vacuum, vying for Cyrenaican nobles, now filled by self-proclaimed Belisarius. And that's the correct term for the leader, the Greek term. The Ptolemies were two-faced in their rule, and I don't mean this as in that sort of lying term. When they were projecting themselves primarily to their Egyptian audience, they would do so as pharaoh. When they were projecting themselves to the wider world, generally considered the Greek world, but the wider world, they did so in a Greek look and feel. to the point of having two different styles of coin, having statues that when maybe in Alexandria, and definitely when, because they controlled Cyprus for a lot of time, statues in Cyprus, they were done in the Greek style, clothing, hair, look, and probably more correct facial features when they were doing them for, deeper into Egypt. They were doing in the Egyptian style, both in, rigid sort of poses, unnaturalistic, and in Egyptian costume, which, to the best of my knowledge, they did wear, but only on special occasions. But Belisarius, or however you pronounce that, is, and it's not quite what we would say in the West, king, or is it emperor? It is sort of a mixture of kings, mixture of warlord, I would say. It's sort of a mix of that to properly get you. Yeah. Emboldened by the Cyrenaican patriotism and divided by the power of the Diadochi. That the Diadochi are the generals left over after Alexander. This guy, Epimenes, hopes to maintain his. Okay, we're going to send Magid out. Why are they putting a woman's name? Berenike Magrid. I guess. Oh God. These people. Also very disloyal and often betrayed the army they were fighting for. Yes, the Silver Shields. I don't know how often they betrayed the army they were fighting for. They did switch sides, but sometimes it was sort of on because they realized they were on the losing side or had lost, so they joined the other side. I'm trying to remember some of the stuff that I've read. I always, whenever I'm trying to call up a name, what's up here? Pergamon. When the sort of Pergamon around, they do switch sides a bit there. This is what Ptolemy is trying to fight, the idea that the phalanx, generally speaking, from mercenaries, because he's trying to give them land. And by giving them property and making it theirs, it's only going to stay theirs if he's in power or that the Ptolemies are in power. As if whether it's another Belisarius, I hope I'm pronouncing that relatively right, but I'm probably putting an extra R in there. So he's trying to, instead of like wherever the money's good, we're going to go to the money. Now they're trying to go, oh well, not only are we getting money, but we're getting land, we're establishing ourselves. Oh, and they were mostly importing wives from Macedonia, as opposed to marrying the local Egyptians, but they did that too. Okay, with help of our valiant soldiers, ever dependable Magus managed to control Cyrenaica. Okay, we're going to nonsense. We're going to go this. This is going to probably cause a war eventually. We'll have to go in and fight. But we've lost the Magrid family because they've now all sort of skedaddled for ruling out here. I don't like that feature, that we've lost them all, because I don't think that is correct. Okay. We have, okay, upper, lower, up there, okay, so 2, just seeing, okay, Freeman output, okay, we'll give you there, and as you can tell, I read a little about all of this. I am not a super great expert. What culture is he? I do worry about that. Phoenician culture, Hellenic. Okay, well, the religion's correct, so we'll. Who do we? Okay. Military. Okay, he'll do even better here. Well, the Praetorian Guard area. Well, well, the Praetorian Guard is, or the Germanic Guard as well, because there's two. Those are two different things. Not entirely the Praetorian Guard. I'm disagreeing with you that is that disloyal. They're definitely some of them are involved in getting rid of Caligula, but hell, that's Caligula and he's going nuts. And so, okay, Egyptian fortunes are rising. Our time of the kingdom has achieved both greater wealth and power. Traditionally, we relied upon the ability to valor dignity of our ancient honorable families. Some families are greater. Okay, so we have a choice because we've lost our Magrid family, which has some relations, if I'm not mistaken, to the Ptolemies. We have these other families. Hebrew, Kemetic religion, Hebrew or Egyptian Canaanite. So we have to pick one of these. Well, looking at some of their leadership abilities, at least at the head of their group. I guess this is the one we'll go with. Well, and oh, now we have to go in and throw these guys bones. Is it? Aren't you already? Well, they need one more. Okay. He's really good orator. He's not terribly. No, civic he is. Okay. Just seeing. They're all pretty good. Let's come over here. Might as well get rid of somebody who's not the best before we. Okay. Yeah, he's particularly good. No corruption. We'll increase his loyalty if we bring him in, because he goes now up to 64 loyalty. Okay, Ari. Well, to a point, you know. I'm definitely looking at Nero and before. That's where I've done most of my reading. And if you expand the term Praetorian Guard, what that might mean, and you expand it into the late Roman Empire, especially post Marcus Aurelius, well, I'm sure, because that's just the world. What of Diocletian? I don't know. That's getting out of my area of reading. I've read much more in the you know, up through Nero, the whole Augustan line, shall we say, because basically after Nero that's gone. And so you're getting later and later. I can't comment enough on it to you know, I know who Diocletian was, but not well enough to comment on it. Okay, while occasionally the rakish and lecherous tendencies of Marcus Timoleus are well known. Okay, let's see. We're going to do a token inquiry. Yeah, we're going to accept. Trade. I know the name, but beyond that, I can't really tell you much about that. Because I know a bit about Hadrian's reign and some of the others, but some of the other later emperors, but not all of this. Okay. They're sacking temples. I haven't really sacked a temple yet in my playthrough here, but we can either, if we want bad relations or if we want good relations. I don't know if there's a downside to not so okay, yeah, you're talking about the emperor, what, post I always do this, Hadrian. Your post Hadrian. Yeah, I don't know that well enough. Man who saved Rome from the 3rd century crisis. Yeah, you're getting out of my decent knowledge. Okay. While investigating Marcus Tumulus, mainly intended as symbolic gesture to ease tensions, it is clear, after some preliminary groundwork by the jurists, that the accused is essentially guilty beyond all doubt. This is a minor miracle that this did not come to light sooner. The unspeakable goings-on at the villa are scarcely bear thinking about. This, however, is very hard to ignore. Just the situation lends themselves. Okay. We'll just have to see what happens. We would gain popularity. We will lose. He will lose popularity. They will lose prestige. This is some sort of smear campaign, which will hurt us, but get his loyalty. Don't know that we need his loyalty. Anything can be fixed for a price. We don't need to increase our corruption. I'm going to go with we're going to go. Yeah, we're going to go with standard. The subject of Rome and the emperors is a big subject when looked at total, and I don't know. Okay, the stats do seem to matter. Now, yeah, okay. We're going to go, and I think it's the first two, not just the military, but the first two seem to matter the most. Well, no, we want to click here. And we need another researcher. Do we? Okay, scandal draws to the close. A small fine is all he deserves. You don't need to read all this, I guess. So we lose a little bit of popularity now that we've gained some, we've lost some. He's lost a lot of popularity, but we gain a little more loyalty from him, though he's already very loyal. And Egypt gets 30 gold. Okay, is there somebody we want to put in? I think we may wait for that guy to get back from the games. Now, I like this better than this, meaning as we research through the different fields, we have different options. Now, I wish I could, instead of just having, what the game thinks is the top 3 of each of the field, I wish we had all of the currently available ones to pick from. So I like this mechanic better than pure linear stuff. It was the one who made the Empire into 4 with the, yeah, okay. Yeah, the 4 emperors. Yeah, that's just, oh man, that's getting bad. Even in East and West is getting bad. Sapping. Now, those that are looking for conquest after conquest, I don't do that, But in my private playthrough recently, I've conquered a lot of things, but I build up infrastructure and economics and all of that stuff before I go a conquering. So I hope a lack of a blatant bloodthirsty invasion first approach is not a bad thing. Now what we're going to do here is, with this game I have a philosophy of forts. It's sort of a passive aggressive. Forts control the province that they're in and sort of one province around them. By that I say sort of, if there is no other fort either in this province or, like, say, back here to make this province would be in, if there's a fort here and a fort here, this would sort of, neither side would dominate. You can enter a province that is under the influence of a fort, but you can't pass sort of through it to another province also under the influence of that fort. So if you have a fort here and you have a fort here, you can come to this province, but you can't come through to here without conquering one of the other forts. So what we're going to do, and I also like this, that now that they're not every area has a city. Not every territory has a city. You can build cities in just about every territory if you so choose, but you also have various rural buildings. The buildings are nowhere near as good as Field of Glory empires. That for various, including unique buildings, including different culture group buildings, though they're still not nailed that down yet. Well, in the game now. What we can also see here, and this is meant to be as much of a critique as anything else, and we can talk about cultural traditions, and I don't know, and I haven't looked into it and what people who know better, if there's a distinction, if there's a difference, how do I put it? Is there a difference between an agora and a forum? And if that's would be something you would put in the game. A forum is sort of, it's not exactly the capital, because that is something else, but it is sort of the public business area of a Roman city. But not necessarily public business as in a market like here. So it's different than a market. I mean, like law courts, like political debates. It is also, shall we say, to some degree, a civic meeting area. Not quite what we would think of as a park. And agora sort of kind of fills that same type of role in Greek culture. So I don't know whether it just would be the same building under a different name, because the forum is sort of the Roman name and the agora would be the Greek name for the same basic points. But things like that they could do better with this game, that would better fulfill the different cultures, the different roles of building types. So Field of Glory Empires does that really well. In my opinion, the biggest place where Field of Glory Empire falls down is that it's not just that it's turn-based versus real-time, which this is real-time basically, but that is a year turn, one year per turn. And they've told me, oh yeah, but you get you get so many turns. I don't care. We're looking at something. We're trying to sort of simulate reality. Make the turns a month. Make them whatever. Make them that way. make them more realistic length of turns. And so that's where it's one of its thing falling down. Okay, we lost, but we got 5 popularity, so it puts us back to 81. Keep us popular. We got to wait a little bit to get our guy back from that. So we're going to use these forts to block off our north and stop them from coming through unless he's allied to them, and then they could come that way. Yes, that is a weakness. But just in case a war breaks out, I want to generally hold down this front with very little troops. Now we need to watch Ptolemy's age. He's just 67. And I'm so glad they got rid of. I don't know how often I had characters go lunatic in the early versions of this game. I have noticed someone going lunatic once, though not a main leader. They've gotten rid of some of the stupid negative traits that were popping up way too much. Way too much. And Ptolemy was often dying. The actual historical, he lived into his 70s, like 74, 73. Again, we're not sure. We're sure of when he died, but we're still not sure when he was born. So, xenophobia. What? Heated debates at court are especially prominent members of society lately. The wave of xenophobia has swept across, resulting in foreign values being regarded with great distress. All in attendance today's debate agree, however, that Kianis Xenoid crossed the line today when he accused it's like throwing in an R into it because I'm used Phaeacius Ptolemaeus of indignant barbaric Gandhar practices, whatever the hell that is. Okay, turn the other cheek, we get wise trait, we get rash trait, we gain popularity, gaining prominence. Okay, I'd rather have wise than rash trait. I'm not exactly sure what the trait's going to do, but let's see it. Okay, civil war, we have a revolt. Okay, here we're looking at a possible civil war coming. We don't want to have that happen. So what we're going to do here is we don't want to build up too much corruption for Ptolemy. But what we are going to do here is take the one hit, give out 100 gold. That will get rid of our likelihood of civil war coming. And now that, and if you notice, this didn't go down. The gold came from his personal stash, which is another thing I don't like, is it doesn't seem to who inherits throne. Doesn't get his stash of money, which I sort of find annoying. But okay. Well, we need to. Oh, this is one thing I got to remember to do. Oh, he's already married to her. Okay, I've already done that, I guess. He's not married. Okay. Okay, that's his sister. We're gonna have his married his sister. I don't know how much you want as opposed to other members of the family. Egyptian pharaohs, and which I think even popular belief may not realize, non-pharaohs, people who were able to write to each other. So I don't know if you want to call them middle class or whatnot, and literacy didn't go down terribly far. Now, people, hieroglyphs are obviously pictures, and people would probably recognize what some of the hieroglyphs mean, but actually being able to read it was a limited thing. That's why you see a lot of they communicated using billboards, as it were, reliefs on the sides of buildings that people could see. And they were, they definitely had hieroglyphs around them, but you could also sort of follow the story of, some ruler conquering, some bad people, or going hunting, or just, going in some procession. It's a very pictorial culture Egypt was. But modern society has found recordings of middling sorts of people that could write to each other, definitely referring to each other as brother and sister. And I'm taking them literally and not sort of, they just probably husband and wife called them each other brother and sister. No, they were brother and sister. That was quite common in Egypt. There is, I think, a special reason why the Ptolemies particularly followed relative marriage and close relative marriage. But it would come to not quite a conspiracy theory by me, because other people have it, but definitely a reason. Okay, I think it's been long enough. Let's see, can we get him back in? Yeah, that's who we sent. Yeah, that's who we sent off to the Olympics. Get him back in there because he would get good stats for that job. And you also you sort of get better over time, I think, with some of these things. Okay, yeah, we're just basically accepting all. Don't know if we want to get this guy. Okay, he's 76 years old. He's not very loyal. Maybe he'll just die out before it causes a problem. But if we start heading towards another civil war, we will see about bribing him as necessary. You want to bribe people as little as possible. We will do this. This will increase slave output, which will increase our income. Yes, basically. Yes, making sure that everywhere we can have trade deals going. And getting the full benefit from that. Currently we're making 19 a month. And so the Diadochi are, as we can see, literally currently fighting over the remains of Alexander's empire. And rulership at this time, and you talk about the disloyalty of the Silver Shields. Rulership, the idea with the Belisarius, definitely has, within the Macedonian tradition, a certain amount of performance quality as to the legitimacy of your rule. It's not like, oh, your father was king, so now you're king, or God has anointed you king, so you're king, that we have in sort of, coming out of, the Middle Ages and on, and whatnot in the West for kings. Divine rule is the best rule. Well, so where do we plan on expanding west? Well, we plan on expanding everywhere that we can as time goes on. But we're going to do so in a measured way and an opportunistic way. Right now, we don't have much manpower. Because trust me, we would burn through that very fast in this game. We burn through manpower fast, and we have a small army here, so either we need to expand it. So we are actually very lucky to stay out of this current war. Later on, once we can build up, both in manpower and in money, and we're going to build for both of those. Once we have the ability to sustain armies, then we will look at going after more and more wars. This is time we're going to stay out of them, even if it's opportunistic to grab up some territory, because we've already grabbed up this sort of huge area in Cyprus, so we're going to leave it, stay at that. No, not really. I disagree with you. It's I would burn through it, and it'll take many years to recover. It is not good enough. Okay. Patron of the arts. Yes. We want to do this. Now, again, the progression, and I know I hope I'm not harping on things too much, but I've noticed that what was that? That was, under 200. But later on, when I'm making a lot more money, being patron of the arts costs a whole lot more. So why do you do this, Paradox? Why in 100 years will Egypt be making 5 times, 8 times, I don't know, as much as it does now? Why? What really changes in the real world that you would have greater income that huge just because time goes on? Okay, we could adopt Socratic monarchy. We would lose 30 stability. I have no desire to lose 30 stability right now, so no thank you. And right now, Cyrenaica is a tributary, so we sort of half own that. These guys down here are another, they're client state, which there is a difference, so we can look at the stats. So we already have them. Kush is going to be a much harder than just 30,000 to take. There'll be a lot of fighting to get Kush. Blima down here. That, yeah, maybe. We're already getting the war elephants from there. There isn't a good enough reason to go down there right now. So yeah, you're African. No, it's not a good bet at the moment. Trust me, if this series goes long enough, there will be plenty of wars. Nabatea. Yeah, but I'm going to. I've played the mission of Matter of Palestine, and it's going to require a lot of wars, and I'm not ready for that yet. And so I'm going to play that mission if we go long enough with this series. Again, I don't know whether we drop this shortly or not. I don't know, but all depends on viewers and feedback and all that stuff. So yeah, and I'm not going to come into here yet. And I don't quite honestly want to own Judea. I want to have Judea be a client state for sure, but not own it. So we will have to fight it at some time. I'm waiting to build up my economy to start this mission, which is building up the economy even more. But we need to get a little better economic security. And I think we're going to end this episode, not the live stream, but the episode here. I want to thank you all for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of these topics: Ptolemies, Egypt, the ancient world, Imperator Rome. If you've played Field of Glory Empires, what do you think compared to this? Love all that feedback. See you next time for more historical gaming. Okay, let me save this here. We'll make another episode. What's the time frame of this game? Does it have classic Greek wars or Alexander campaign? It is. This is Imperator Rome. Mr. Mindu. I'm sure I'm butchering that. Yeah, the time frame, Alexander crosses the Hellespont here in 330 BC. This is about 30 to 50 years after the death of, not exactly sure, but 30 to 50 years after the I think it's more like 30 years after the death of Alexander the Great. So there are so we're this is the Hellenistic age. So the older Peloponnesian wars and whatnot are well in the past at this point. And yes, it's sort of counting from the founding of Rome instead of using the BC AD type calendar. So just sort of give you the time frame of this game. So Imperator Rome. And if you're interested, I'm not trying to sell you on it, but if you're interested, there is a summer sale going. March of Time, how sad. Okay, so he's gained dementia, which is a little more appropriate. So we did get Wise, which did that, but now we have dementia, which reduces all of his stats, and which means he's going to be failing fairly soon. So this is why I went into debug mode, I think, and I kept removing it. But I used to go in and fight all these goddamn things. To the best of our knowledge, and Ptolemy is fairly well recorded, he did not have dementia. Like I say, he lived into his 70s. I would go at least 74. Oh man, you know, this makes me sick. Okay. You're going so far. What we're going to do here is, okay, it's going to cost us 100 political influence. But we're going to do primary heir oath of allegiance, ask for oath of allegiance, which will last for a while, to make sure that when Ptolemy Soter dies, the next heir will be more accepted. And when he gets done with his adventuring up here, pirates, yes. Okay, well, we got pirates. Well, that may be a good opportunity to get us some boats. Let's set sail out here. Yay, we won. We got 3 more boats, 3 more ships. The smallest size, but still, it's a nice, cheap pickup. And we have the ability for the new one. Okay, we can look here at the new religious mechanics. We're going down, if it hasn't already happened, sort of defiant Hellenism, though we do have some Egyptian gods. We can change them, though. If we change the deities, one, it might move them out. This would be a temple in our realm, or other temples we don't yet control. We can look at to see how they would affect things differently. Passive and omen effects, population capacity versus food modifier versus wrong culture happiness. I want to change out ISIS, but to do the thing, it's going to be a bit of a disruption culturally, so I don't want to do that yet. We can do this one, which would get us Freeman output, which would be more money. This will get more Macedonians in Alexandria, which would continue to grow Alexandria, which is very nice. And here, Hathor, more food. I think we're going to go with the more output from Freeman, which will mean more revenue for us for 5 years. So now the different religions, and we can pick which ones we sort of want to focus on. Will give different effects, so it is somewhat culturally based, which is nice. Master or not? Okay, lately, Philocles Tumulid has proven an unreliable aide at court time and time again, having to the guards himself disloyal to the throne. Okay, we will get rid of him. Stops being master of the guard. Loses. Okay, he'll become some gold will please the man. Okay. Okay, we'll pay the gold. We have the gold. At least it's not increasing our corruption levels. Are any of the freemen called Morgan? Yes, Morgan Freeman. Yeah. Okay. Rulers from foreign people have not always embraced with. Egyptian declared particular hard, deep resentment to our Hellenic gods. We're going to go down the defiant Hellenism path. Embrace the Serapis cult is, my understanding, is the most historical one, which is sort of a blend of Egyptian gods and the Greek ones. What I don't like about this going down that path is it works for Egypt. And if we were playing Egypt, it would be good. And yes, I know we're playing Egypt, but we're not. We're playing Ptolemaic Empire because we want to expand into the Greek. Oh, Macedonia picked up a bunch of territory. Good, that's good because we may be able to take that instead of having all of it as Antigonid territory. Yes, I don't know. Is there a mod that renames some of these things to their historical stuff? I don't know. That'd be cool. And so, because I'm going to look to eventually moving out of Egypt as our primary control areas, I don't want to go too far down that, and we're definitely not going to embrace full Egyptian territory because notice you'll lose a lot of loyalty. So we're going to keep defiant. We're going to go defiant Hellenism. Yeah, not HOI 4. Hello, silly smart. I changed games partway through the stream. Well, they actually died fairly early on, the Antigonids. I don't think they lasted more than a generation or two. And there was, I don't know if there was an official single capital, but sort of Babylon or this, whatever there, and over here becomes sort of the Seleucid capital of the West, as it were. We want the Seleucids out here as a threat to the Antigonids, but we don't want them really conquering over here. Okay, refugees fleeing the war between Phrygia and Bactria. Okay, yes, we'll take a couple of them. And okay, we want a Macedonian Hellenic. At least Hellenic is the primary thing we want here. Even if it's, yeah, that would be nice, but I don't want, and I don't know if it actually has an in-game effect, but I want to make sure that we keep Hellenic people in charge of our religious centers, even if it's not quite as good. Hello, Urban Death. How you doing over on Mixer? I would recommend, because Mixer's going away, you can follow me, which I'm live streaming now concurrently over on Twitch and YouTube at gamer_1745 for lots of historical, games. No, that's what we were playing earlier. Thank you, Arno, for posting the link. You can follow. I mean, I'm going to continue posting or streaming over to Mixer until it goes away. But Mixer's going away in what, 25 days or something. So yeah, if you want, you can follow me on the other platforms. I'm really disappointed to see Mixer go, even though I didn't have a large audience there. Why is Mixer going away? Okay, I've watched some very informed videos on the subject, actually. Microsoft dumped a huge amount of money into Mixer, particularly in bringing over Ninja and Shroud. And doing that, and after 6 months, a year, whatever time frame it was, they grew like 1%. Where Facebook gaming, live stream gaming, grew like 6% for a lot less money put into it. So Microsoft, whose main business, Mixer doesn't really help, and since it's not looking to be profitable in any time soon, in ever, and there's probably nothing they're going to do. Okay, cool. You watch Hearts. Okay, so you've got that there. Great, thanks. Urban, I'll call you Urban. Yeah, and so it's something that isn't going to be profitable, isn't going to grow, and so they've just given up it and moved, and basically sort of kind of sold it out to Facebook Gaming. Yes, this would be heavily modded. Yeah, we finally defeated the Germans. I didn't know how long. Okay, now that we have some money, we're going to see about increasing our profits from here. It doesn't look terribly. Converting of a market, we'll do this. Some of our recently gained territory, but we should probably also increase a lot of money. Let's increase some of the stuff here where we can focus on it a little bit more. Yeah, let's go with a market. That looks a little profitable. Maximizing our profits early on. Let's do some of that. Yeah, okay, for some of the buildings, as best I understand them, a temple, if you are of the state religion, which is Hellenic, it will increase your happiness. It will also increase the conversion speed of the pops. Now the pops here, as we can look, this is just for this one city, because the province is the whole thing, just trying to keep my terminology correct. One territory. There's 19 Hellenic, for religion, there's 19 Hellenics, and these are citizens. 19 Hellenic citizens, or 19,000, or whatever that's supposed to represent. 4 Canaanites citizens, and 4 Hebrew or Jewish citizens, and then 11 Hellenic freemen, 4 Egyptian freemen, 2 somehow Druidic freemen, 2 Kemetic, which is the Egyptian, or 1 Kemetic Egyptian, and 2 Jewish, because there's 1 Macedonian Jew and 1 Hebrew Jew, freemen, and then for slaves we have don't know why it's sort of double there, but different stats. Then all the slaves are Egyptian religion. So, and this sort of, you can look at a simulation. So if you want to do temples, you're either wanting to convert the local population and or make those of the state religion happier. Libraries, they will mostly just make your citizens happier and increase your citizens. The more citizens, my understanding, the more trade, the more slaves, the more production of the primary resource in the region. It's an interesting mix. I haven't quite got all the details. I think you can tell down, but yeah. Yeah, well, Facebook Gaming is actually the largest growing in percentile of a market. The actual largest growing is YouTube Gaming, No, we're not going to go. These are these guys here. No, we're gonna want to force them in as a client state at some time. So I'm not going to go with an alliance with you. Sorry. I don't know how much. Looking at the stats here for a library, it actually increases research. Now we will have a chance to build we have Alexander's tomb. Oh, I forgot to start an episode. I'm going to start an episode recording right now. Welcome back, fellow armchair generals, to our look at Imperator Rome from the perspective of Ptolemaic Egypt. This is Gamer 1745 here. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, and of course you can like the videos and share this with a friend. We're continuing from earlier, and I did this. Local citizen ratio desire. Yes, it does help that out. How many citizens versus freemen versus slaves? I'm not entirely sure of how the whole mechanic is calculated. I just haven't really looked into it. So if you want to increase freemen in the city, you'll build forums. You want to increase citizens, you'll build libraries. Now again, these are using Roman terms. I don't think there was this distinction in the Greek world, in the Hellenic world, between citizen and freeman. A freeman is really sort of technically a former slave, but might also include people that don't have citizenship rights but are not slaves. Where I don't think you're going to have especially in a monarchy, like most of the Hellenic world was at this time. Because I don't know if there's any real republics or what would be the democracies, I should say, for the Greek world. Any real democracies running around in the Hellenic world. That had almost entirely been discredited by that point. That either you're sort of a citizen of the state or you're a slave, and so there's not really so much of a distinction. I'm looking at this as more of a class distinction than a social status distinction here, or a legal status distinction. I don't know. I always say, okay, yes, wood, sure. Light infantry offense improved, cool. So we're trying to increase our trade as much as possible. Okay, preeminent Legos. Oh no, we're gonna ignore all of this and lose a little bit of popularity. I don't like those events. I just try to sort of ignore them. Okay, which one has the best? Okay. Yeah. Let's build a okay. Expensive. We may do that later. Let's improve some of the cities a bit more. A little cheaper to do. So I'm pushing most on the economic. Yeah, there's some missions coming up with Egypt that I'm going to go down the road with some of that stuff. And I'm going to wait for it. Right now, I'm focusing on economic building. We are trying to increase our income. How well did the different religions get along? Fairly well, actually. Unlike this game, which we can look here, we will see over time a spreading of Hellenic religion. That really did not happen. The Ptolemies basically set up, and there will be some missions in this game that feature it. The Ptolemies set up into the interior of Egypt Macedonian colonies, if you will. Again, talking about trying to get the phalanx soldiers to settle down, one, to make them loyal to the Ptolemies more than where the gold is the best, you know, not necessarily. I mean, there are cases where at sort of key moments, generals take bribes to switch sides. But mostly, it's either the Belisarius is losing, so he's not successful, so they go to the successful camp, because there's that sort of success element in what we'll call Macedonian kingship element, as opposed to legitimacy or other sorts of terms. There is a success element there, as well as simply budgets, meaning if peacetime, you're in somebody's army, oh, wait a minute, these other guys are at war, they're paying better money, let's sort of like go and join these other guys. There's definitely some of that stuff going on. Leaving ones, I don't know if it's quite desertion, as opposed to, because I don't know their terms. There, to the best of my knowledge, there wasn't like, oh yeah, like the Roman Legion, it's 20 years, you sign up, you're in for 20 years. No, I don't think it was quite like that. You know, it's follow where either the fighting is good and you're on the winning side, or, because there's often periods of peace, go where the money's best. Ptolemy is trying to say, hey, establish roots, be here. And so they're setting up their sort of own separate colonies to do that. And it's also to put loyal, ready soldiers to deal with a potential, which there's actually very few of historically, but potential Egyptian revolts. But they're sort of separate. The one place that they really sort of intermix is Alexandria. And there's remarkably little, but conflict, to the best of my knowledge. But there's also I don't know how neighborhoody it was, you know, like this neighborhood's Greek, this neighborhood's Hebrew, this neighborhood's Egyptian, this neighborhood is Gauls. We can get into the Gauls that are the Gauls that are growing up in Egypt as well, or other distinctions in there. I don't know how much, you know, neighborhoods or just simply they're not trying to become one. They're not trying to become Alexandrian or whatever, as to have one sort of blend. They're all sort of staying their own thing, as best I understand it, while being in Alexandria. Yeah, but it is predominantly a Greek city in populace and in culture and style. So it's sort of get along by not treading on each other's toes, if you will, by not trying to, oh, we are the right religion, you're the wrong religion, or any of that kind of stuff. And this goes back partially to the the Ptolemies themselves, and when they get coronated and then go on various religious processions and go through the religious duties of, and we'll get rid of him in a moment again, because we don't want him. He's likely to cause a civil war. They're dressing in Egyptian styles. They're going through to the, because there is a massive temple here. We can see here the Great Pyramids, local civilization, local slave happiness. And by local, I think it means this province. I don't know if it just means this one territory. I'm not sure. But it is definitely not empire or whatever wide. That, so they're going and behaving in an Egyptian fashion, honoring the Egyptian gods, going through the rituals of Egypt and behaving in that manner. But once they're back in Alexandria, for the most part, they're living and dressing in the Greek styles. So it's again sort of a two-front way. And so an Egyptian living up in this part, you realize they don't have newspapers. I don't even know how much of a town crier they had. So when they see the Ptolemies, as well as most of the government bureaucrats in the major cities, they're all Egyptians. And the Ptolemies are looking like Egyptians. And sure, yeah, up here we get, some Hellenic colonies. And they may be aware that, oh yeah, over there 30 miles, there's this, Greek colony set up that's a town with a bunch of farmland, and they may have thrown off, obviously, a bunch of local Egyptians, but that probably wasn't anything unusual in which, landlords are throwing people off, just messing things around, going on their own. Okay, now to deal, that army is gone, so what we need to do is recruit cohorts. Again, I want the cheapest one again. 10, 2, 3. Yeah, it looks like 10. Okay. Because unfortunately, he is now back as primary heir, and we don't want him. We want Ptolemaeus. Oh, what is this? Okay, some people uncanny ability to stay away. This some voices. Okay, so he gains oratory even though he has dementia. Yeah. Okay, there is religion in the ancient world. This is an interesting topic. There are obviously religious wars going on, and wars named fighting in the name of religion, but not necessarily against people who believe differently. You find in the Greek world often they are, Athens, Athena, the sort of state religion, Athena's on our side, she's fighting with us versus, I don't know, Apollo or whatever, I don't know, some other city-state. So sometimes it's within that religion is brought into it. But there is remarkably little attempts at mass conversions. You have, and again, some of this is just simply, I think, because not so much what I've read or been taught, but I think what remains from the fall of, we've lost, more literature is lost than is currently in existence because of the fall of Rome. But it's sort of what has remained. You have the one sort of religion that is absolutely not trying to convert others, but is sort of grows into a monotheistic religion. Starts out just simply honoring the sort of Jewish God as primary, but and not honoring other gods, but not denying their existence, to sort of becoming a monotheistic religion. You have the Jews. Now, the Jews are not out there trying to convert other people. You have the Romans, as their empire grows, because of the deification of the emperor. You have to be a Roman citizen, and they try to do at some point universal citizenship. I don't know quite how that worked with the slaves. I don't think they were citizens, but that's sort of under Marcus Aurelius, I think, is universal citizenship of those in our Roman Empire. That you have that, and to sort of be a member of public society, you need to sacrifice to the gods, which are to the state god, which basically just means pouring a little bit of wine at the bottom of the statue. Well, they sort of kind of didn't pay attention to the Jews not doing it because they were a small minority, not trying to impress their religion on anybody else. But the Christians refused to do this. And this is something that's sort of a problem and causes religious problems. So let's just say, this is my understanding, and I'm sure I very well could be wrong, but say an Egyptian who believes in the Egyptian gods. He's in Rome. He believes in the Egyptian gods. But he's not trying to deny that the Roman gods also exist. He just worships the others. But they say, oh, well, to be here and do this, you have to pour some wine on this statue to this Roman god. Okay. You know, I mean, it's not like, you know, that they're like going, oh, I don't believe in Hathor or whatever. You know, it's Isis or something. It's sort of like, yeah, Isis is my main god, but yeah, sure, this other god, yeah, well, I don't want this other god mad at me. You know, so there's sort of that is sort of going on and is quite common. Okay, we have our, I think, 10. Let's put them back up to here. This is my cheap way because I can't kill easily. And we need to make, okay, he's at 0 now. Here we go. Oh, he's not happy. And we're going to send him adventuring. Yes, go ahead. Go adventuring. So now we begin. He's now our primary heir. Okay, disloyal character, civil war coming. Okay, let's see what we can do with this. Okay, why can't we bribe him? Can't execute him, we can't assassinate him. We try to make friends with him, but that's not like, okay, why can't we bribe any of these people? Why aren't we able to bribe them? This replaces bribe as your ruler has orator, silver tongue trade. Okay. Persuade. Okay. That's very good. I didn't realize that. Okay, so what we want to do here is, let's start here with receipt researcher. We can spend this. I would like the opportunity to bribe if we wanted to. Okay, we're no longer facing civil war, but let's see if we can get this other guy. He's the one that, the bottom one here. I want the top one. He is a little more friendly, so we will try to persuade him as well. Use up some of the estate. Okay, we want to avoid civil war at just most any costs. Time traveler appears and hands out AK-47s. Yeah, that would last for a little while. Then they'd end up shooting the ammunition on the first day, and then go, yeah, more magic beans, more magic beans. What? Wait, well, I don't have any more bullets, and so that would go away really quickly. If you know what, if you ever looked at any video of the Middle East and you hand out guns, everyone starts shooting them into the air. It's believed that the other people's gods had powers just like theirs. Yeah. Well, blanket statements, of course, are imprecise and incorrect because there's a bunch of people already, fairly on in the Roman Empire are no longer believing that the gods are real. Okay, our client state up here of what's this called? Kos leader wants to offer friendship to our Basilius. We'll accept that. You can only have so many friends within this game. The Romans, let's see. So, yeah, I don't know how much it's and I don't know if it matters, but I'm sure on some academic level it matters. I don't know how much the Romans believed in sort of a single pantheon out there, and that's all that existed, versus how much they wanted to co-opt other pantheons to Rome's service. So, Poseidon, very, very old god. Very, very old god. I don't know if he was originally a god of the sea, but he's very, very old. He goes back to, Minoan culture, and my understanding, very early Minoan culture. Long before new gods like Zeus comes into play. Okay. But Poseidon is basically the Greek god of the seas. Well, the Romans have Neptune. Now, it comes to being that Rome associates Neptune with Poseidon as just simply the same god under two names. And wherever the Romans sort of go and they find another god that's of the sea, that's just, our Neptune under a different name. And they'll even do, and I don't know if we have, let's come here. Okay. Sometimes, and I don't know if they do much of this in this game, they will put the local god's name sort of in front of or behind or whatever the Roman god's name, and sort of hyphenate them, if you will, or some such thing like that. So they're trying to co-opt them. I don't know how much they believe that they were the same god, just different names, or simply trying to co-opt local belief into the Roman system. And I don't know if it matters, but they very much do that. Hello, Juice Luddy. No, I haven't changed the title after we were playing HOI 4 earlier. We are currently playing Imperator Rome. I'm talking about the ancient world. Veterans do. Okay, after wars, toil, and hardships, it's with hopeful eyes the veterans of our armies look forward to retirement, a life of rural farming with promised farmland often parceled out to the most deserving. Recent circumstances have led to great droves of retiring soldiers clamoring for this quiet life, seeking counsel from the generals and leaders. Philoculus Tomoloid, I'm sure I'm butchering that, has been appointed on behalf of our generals to negotiate a complex arrangement whereby we might assuage our tired veterans and to yield some reward. We should be very wary of what might occur should we refuse. Okay. Commanders like bribes, don't they? So we can give them bribes, pay a bunch of money. We get we get our current leader's loyalty, army, whatever. Okay, we don't need their support. We lose lose stability. I don't want to lose stability. So we can afford, we're making sure we're maintaining a balance so we can afford to pay the money. Okay, the Olympic Games. Do we send him again or do we send this? Yeah, we send him again. That means let's see if there's a better researcher or just, but we're not going to keep sending. Yeah, okay, we'll just switch out the researcher. Just changing it on more and more platforms becomes a pain. Pretender support. Okay, well. Let's look at our family situation here. Okay, they have a couple of children. Again, all the wrong names. More wrong names. All the Ptolemaic males were named Ptolemy. Okay, he needs... Okay, what's his age? 25. Okay. Okay, Arsinoe. Yeah, sister sounds good. Let's see, look at the traits, lustful, that means children. Okay, she's sick, we can deal with that, and selfish, that's fine. So, I wish we got better warnings for some of the sickness. We will seek treatment, we'll pay the 200 to do that. All of, the Ptolemies were named Ptolemy, often with an additional name attached, but definitely all Ptolemy. And all of the women were named 3 Greek names. There's very, very little marrying outside of the family, but even then I think they may have changed their name. It's always Arsinoe, Berenike, or the most famous name of the family, Cleopatra. Those are all Greek names, not Egyptian names. So when you watch the movie The Mummy, or the first one was great, the second one was good, the other one was just okay. And you hear her calling out for the ancient, super ancient queen that married the older pharaoh, Arsinoe. Yeah, no, that's a Greek name. No Egyptian would have that name, Arsinoe. They might be later on just naming because the queen is Arsinoe, might be in the Ptolemaic era, but no, that's a Greek name. Berenike, where we get Bernice in the modern world, name comes down through that. Berenike is Greek, and of course Cleopatra is a Greek name, not an Egyptian name. The remake. Have you thought? I like the I don't know what the Mummy #1 or whatever in the 90s or whatever. I thought that was great. Okay, so concluded. We didn't win, but we got a little bonus for popularity for sending them off. Yeah, that was good. The second one was okay, or I still think sort of good. I think the very first one was great, but for that, and then the last one where they go to China, it's okay. Okay, treatment is successful. Oh, the Tom Cruise. No, I never saw that one because I didn't like what I was hearing about it. Yeah, actually, you know, an air rifle might not be a bad idea. Depends on how modern you get. But I don't know. The mercury-based percussion cap would be, because black powder is easy to, or well, fairly easy to make. Sort of unpleasant, but makeable. Flintlocks, of course, could be done, but yeah, you definitely have a point there, IKB. Yeah, I didn't even go down there. Okay, the city of Ptolemais, which no, that's Berenike. Where's Ptolemais? It's. I've been playing this enough recently. I think it's over here. No, I didn't want to. I don't want to touch that. No, I don't know where it is. Okay, wealthy preacher capital today. However, Berenike Magrid has offered to spend sizable quantity of her wealth in constructing a grand temple to Ares, the Greek god of war, if I'm not mistaken. She's for embarking on construction. Okay, popularity gets temple. Okay, yeah, let's just see where that is. Oh, what did I type in wrong so far that it's messed up? Okay, PTOEM. Okay. Yeah, Ptolemais. I knew there's a bunch. Okay, well, I was just missing it by a little bit. Okay, it was partially covered up. Okay, so there's nothing there now. Sure, we'll take a temple there. Well, wherever that went. For bullet molds wouldn't be that hard to do. Beeswax, yeah. Interesting things you come up with there, IKB. But yeah. But one of the hardest things to replicate the technology, I don't think they'd be able to do it. Where a flintlock or caplock musket. But you see, now I think I'm going to disagree with you, because fulminate, I don't know how hard it would be, and I either read or watch something and I entirely understand how to create fulminated mercury, but then I forget after an hour or a day or whatever the formula. Because if I ever go time traveling, I wish I could remember these things. Because if you can do fulminated mercury, I don't know how hard chemically that would be able to recreate. Creating the caps, the percussion caps on a cap lock would be fairly easy to do. And then lead isn't that difficult to get. And making gunpowder isn't that difficult to do. Again, I only vaguely remember the formula. I've known it exactly before, but trying to remember sort of the urine part or whatever is a bit yucky manufacturing. But if you can get that manufactured, you've got it. And then you can have like Samuel Colt's revolvers, you know. So you got Colt revolvers. You can do revolving rifles. So you got I'm going to go with the cap lock is better. Better than the you know, I am keeping in mind, I don't know how good of a modern like a paintball type, you know, true semi-auto or almost full auto type things. Yeah, and I know you're talking about, you know, animal power, pumping those up like you did the Austrian air rifles that were not quite semi-automatic, but getting damn fast. Reloads and modern, if you have modern manufactured air reservoirs and whatnot. Okay, yes, we've now lost our ruler, the Epigoni, which are the next generation, is coming along after the Diadochi are dying, so now we have a moderately decent ruler, as in stats. We have one disloyal. His wife is disloyal. She thinks she should be queen. Okay, we even got her. I think to have long-term peace with this, we will bribe her into... Okay, so we need a ruler up here. No. Oh, come on. Okay, 7. Okay, that isn't too bad of stats. We'll also give another job to the denoid? I don't know. Family. I mean, you just read things, you don't necessarily be able to pronounce them. Well, at least I can't. So I'll have another job. More trade routes. Flight of a pretender. Uh-oh. Irini, Ingrid once favored, ascended. Egyptian loses legitimacy. Wife moves. Okay, so she moves. And now considered a minor character. Okay, well, we lost her. And I don't know why Rhodes thinks they're socialists, but okay. And we're going to end the episode, not the live stream, but the episode. Hello, Freyr. So everyone, thanks for watching. Thanks for liking the episodes. If you want to see more Imperator Rome, please hit the like button, make a comment below. See you next time for more historical gaming. Don't worry, we're going to continue the live stream. Yes, that's sort of what we're looking at. I think the game is now to a decent level. It's not great yet. It's not wondrous, but it's no longer the, bland, decent structure. We built a frame, because I really thought the framework that they built at release is sort of, a good, skeleton to the game, but that's all it was. It's gotten a lot better. So I'm definitely enjoying it now. So let's start another episode. Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 with my continuing playthrough of Imperator Rome as we look at it. Seeing how the game is going, and we are playing as the Ptolemies of Egypt. We're going to eventually try to grow their empire, but mostly splendid, gains 3 stability, good. Mostly developing our economic structure, and as mentioned, we've got decent treasury, so let's spend it on the marketplace here. We could do these are fairly big cities, and will continue to get bigger. That needs to be turned into a city at some point. Yeah, let's just give all these guys marketplaces. Not for now, we don't want to go too... Oh, of course. Prayer. I like interacting with the chat. Ask what questions you will, I'll give you my best answers. Not that they're right or correct or whatever, but just what I can do. And basically we're taking all of the trade offers. If we need some of the resources that are going out and I want to focus them somewhere, well, I'll just cancel the trade if we need to. trying to maximize our income. I'd like to get this to 60 or 80 gold, or whatever you want to call it, per turn. I'm also looking to grow some of the places out here. Well, that's Ptolemaeus. That's where Ptolemaeus is. We got the temple already. Okay. Good. Pirates, go to location. Oh, way down here. Well, no, we're not. We get to get pirated down there. Okay, these are slightly bigger. Oh, okay. Conqueror's Legacy. The city of Alexandria is one of the many cities that was founded by Alexander himself during the famous campaign through Persia. It has grown significantly since its founding and has kept Alexander's belief in having people of different faiths and cultures come together to form a new community. Though clashes, conflicts, and miscommunications occasionally occur between the Greeks, Persians, and others, they have learned a lot to get along with each other. The city has started to build up infrastructure and administration. Oh, sorry. Okay, okay, so we can either spread the influence around to a bunch of other areas and get local unrest reduced and more manpower. We need a bigger army. Well, we're recruiting more army, but I don't know that we need to, and we don't have much local unrest, so I think we're going to go with free provincial investment. I'm going to sort of save those up because I sort of know what's coming, and they'll somewhat be wasted if I do it. Basically what that is, it's one of these 3 or 4 things that you can do without making it it's sort of a free investment. So if we want to do some more state religion happiness, I normally have been using them to improve or increase local import routes. You can also increase building city slots if you sort of, you're sort of maxed out in an area and your population hasn't grown, but you want to, like, I don't know, add a fort level or something like that to it. And of course, increase output if you want to. And that's just what that is involving. Let's add, because we are building up where it's sort of okay. Well, commerce value, production. Yeah, let's increase some of these out here, as well as some of our center of power. Okay, we can do omen power again. I think we will continue to increase our income, because more freeman output means more income coming in. So that is nice, but more population in Alexandria is good at the moment. The ruler rate, what's our current ruler? Popularity. Oh, 70, so he's very popular. Okay, so we don't need to do that. If your popularity is a bit low, that's a good way to help increase it. And I do like that mechanic because this up here, I was talking earlier about how the everybody trying to hire the Macedonian phalanx. Well, that's in essence what this is doing. It's attracting 2 Macedonian freemen, and if you build in, which we will once we're a little bit later down, build training camps, that'll increase the manpower pool. So that's sort of getting that going. I could be Mercury needs nitric acid. That might be a bit difficult, but black powder. Oh, black powder is very doable. I'm not going to try to recite the formula here, but yeah, it's very doable. The big thing, no longer importing livestock. Okay, we don't want to continue importing livestock, I presume. So let's find another source, and it's always better economically to import from non-local or non-owned. That's only 5 a month, where these are 0.22 a month, or 0.5 a month versus 0.22 a month. Yeah, we'll import from there. Early black powder and Chinese black powder was pretty damn poor because they didn't know about corn mealing it, which is taking the black powder, mixing it up like you would mix it up, and then wetting it. They didn't wet it, turn it into a mud, and then letting it dry, and then grinding it into sort of a cornmeal consistency. Now you have to grind it very carefully because it can blow up on you. Now it won't, because it's not contained. It'll just be a big flash. It won't be an explosion. Sure, I'm sure if it flashes and gets you in your eyes, it can blind you or something. But if you do it relatively safely, you can do that, and then it'll stay stable for, at least in a practical sense, for probably ever. Where if you don't go through the cornmeal process of going through that, it will slowly start to separate again and not function very well. Okay, we have been told of a major industrial accident at extensive works in the vicinity of Alabastopolis in precious metals is the main export of the city. Okay, without significant. Okay, so basically we can get more popularity and local citizen happiness and slave happiness if we pay 255. If we only cover the cost of repairs, which is 133. Yeah, or we can do nothing and lose popularity and get everybody pissed off. I guess we have the money. We're going to spend it. We're going to keep going. We're going for the good stuff. And yeah, okay, nitric needs nitric acid. I don't know nitric acid. Is that something coming out of like lemons and oranges? Look that up if you would, IKB. You're big into this. Oh, Vistas. I don't know what you're saying there, Ari. I know you're probably quoting some sort of Latin thing. More fortunate than Augustus, better than Trajan. Okay. Yeah, if I'm going to time travel, I think I need to take IKB with me. He'll keep all of these formulas in his head. Because I sort of vaguely know how to make steel, don't know quite the charcoal to iron ratio that's good, or exactly how hot we have to get it, but that could be experimented and figured out. Okay, let's see. Rumors that one of the fabled silver shields, the backbone of Alexander the Great's army, has been traveling through Alexandria. They may have not been seen after the betrayal of Eumenes by handing them over to Antigonus, as the unit was split up and dismissed by the general. They are well known for their fighting experience, and experience let him join the court. It's banished to no. We'll take him, I guess. Oh, good stats for military lease. Okay, we'll take that. We can afford that. Oh, lemons and oranges. Oh, citric acid. Okay, that's right. As in citrifuge. You're absolutely right, IKB. I'm just grasping at straws here. Don't know how you make nitric acid then. So I would have failed. I would have been trying to, okay, acid. Squeeze all the oranges and see if we can make that. Put that on mercury and see if we could create fulminated mercury. Look, we're doing pretty good for income. Let's now put a few tax offices around. And let's increase a few foundries as well. Okay, this sack of the shrine. Oh, we're gonna let it go. I'm not trying to start a pick fight with any of those people. We're just still not financially ready to want to go to war with the Antigonids. But that looks promising. Macedonia may be a good promising war. So we don't need to go invade Macedonia, just take that out. Maybe that would be enough, I don't know. Get enough war score at some point. Or at least grab the coast or some of the coast up. Okay. Now here's another problem with the game, and I don't know whether it's, and I know I mentioned it at one point, but I don't know if they really paid attention. Only Greeks could compete in the Macedonian Games, and one time Philip II shows up to compete in the games, and the judges aren't quite so sure that he's really a Greek. Our Macedonian's really a Greek. So he sort of goes away. And then the next games come along. And he shows up again with, I forget which god, with a complete, family tree. Going back that he's from Dionysus or whatever, the one that Alexander claimed, or whatever, claims that he's descended from a Greek god, and that's got to be Greek enough. So yeah, the idea that we could send a Phoenician there just would be no. It would have to be a Greek, although he's religion Hellenic, but culture Roman. Oh, so he wouldn't even be accepted. So neither of these would be acceptable people to show up to the Olympic Games. Now, by the time of the Roman Empire controlling Greece, they very well may be accepting Romans, but he's definitely the better stats, so he'll do better, and we'll send him off there. But yeah, and so things may have changed over time, I'm sure, but at sort of roughly this time, you got to be Greek. And they definitely did, during the Hellenic Age, the post-Alexandrian Age, definitely allowed Greeks from the Hellenic Greeks, like from, Ptolemaic Egypt and the Seleucid Empire and whatnot, compete. Scandal, okay, blah, blah, blah. This is the same thing. What do we do? Yeah, we'll just do this. That reminds me. No, we don't. We want to go to there because we want to come and see these guys. Okay, there now. Let's get him married. 18. Yeah, this, I want to see other youthful Ptolemies. What they call language. Okay. The dating pool's getting small, so yeah, we'll give a slightly older sister. Well, no, younger actually. Oh, older by 1 year. Okay. Arbitrary and disciplined. We'll select that. Okay, keep it in the family. Keep it in the family. And he's healthy, I guess. Okay, good. Uh-oh. Buoyed by his secure position, Cyrenaica, freed from the dishonor of betraying his benefactor, the late Ptolemaeus Suitor, has proclaimed himself king of Cyrenaica and has made it clear that his realm is no longer a mere vassal of Egypt. Okay. We have gained claims on all of Cyrenaica. Well, let's save this now. Okay, now is the time to start thinking about going to war. So we will want to put a general in charge of that. We won't jump into war super fast. Okay. Yeah. He would have made a good leader. Camels like cavalry. Okay. Loyalty. Okay. Army's more likely to become loyal to him than others. Not just going to be the main army. Let's recruit a secondary army here. What are their, yeah, got a couple of supply mules, yeah. They take a while to, unfortunately, I think a bit long, 120 days, but we'll get a couple of those in production, as it were, and some light infantry. So mostly it's going to be light infantry and archer type army, though. We do have over here I'll do a couple light cavalry. We have the horse archers, but they're just going to be fairly expensive to maintain. I'm thinking of keeping this army in operation or in function after the campaign. So I'm trying to keep it somewhat economical to maintain. Okay, but I think we're going to end this episode here. I want to thank you all for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. Come back next time to see our first war against Cyrenaica. It should be happening next episode. So thank you very much for watching. Okay. Nope, this is Imperator Rome. I switched partway through the stream and didn't change all the stream titles. Hello, Matthias. Imperator Rome has much improved over the original game that is released. So we're taking a look at that. And I think we're going to end the stream here. Sorry, Matthias, we come in at sort of the end of things. You can, of course, watch it on YouTube. It'll be there, watchable. The whole thing, if you wish. I know it's not the same as live. And we will, there is, the start of the stream, there is HOI 4. Tomorrow I'll be streaming and you guys can join me. We'll be doing some War Thunder. The World War mode, I know probably it's modern. I don't know how much it's coming. July 1st, I think, something like that. So it's coming very soon. On July 3rd, I'll be streaming Panzer Corps for Slithering. That's Friday coming up, and of course, probably Black Ice, Hearts of Iron for next Saturday is sort of the plan if I can get everything well organized together. So thanks everyone. Have a good day. Black powder, you would need access to Sicily or similar volcanic area for the sulfur and potassium nitrate, which can be extracted from urine and animal waste. Right, exactly. That's right, sort of gross. My mom is the chemist biologist in the family. Oh, well, good to know. And so, yeah, it is sort of a messy proposition of getting black powder, but damn, it's very, very useful. So thanks everyone.